So because of the work I've been doing at the moment on the Notes of Hope on the Bridge campaign, I've spoken a lot recently to people and thought a lot really about what it is to get through a difficult time, whether that just be a depressive episode or whether that literally be a suicidal moment. It's something that I've had a lot of conversations about off the back of the Bridge project. So it's something that I just wanted to make a video on really and just kind of put my thoughts out there. I think that mental health, it's very hard to deal with. It's very hard to live with. And sometimes it just feels like it's never going to end. It just feels like these shadows are going to keep coming back. And I've been in that thought train of, oh my God, this is just going to continue forever. Like, it doesn't matter if I get better. It doesn't matter if I get through this, because these times they're going to just keep coming back to haunt me, and I've got to deal with them again and again and again. And the thought of that can be absolutely overwhelming. That can be enough in itself. Thinking that way, I believe, that's very easy to do and very easy to get sucked into whilst in a period of depression. That's enough to make somebody feel like, what is the point? I've been there so many times. What is the point if this is going to keep happening? And those times where it gets that bad that you don't want to be around anymore, those times are unbelievable. The feeling that goes with being in that situation and in that moment is actually indescribable to anybody that hasn't felt it, which is why I think there is so much stigma around suicide and people feeling suicidal, because if you haven't been in that situation, if you haven't been in that mindset, you couldn't possibly understand what that feels like. It is like the blackest of despair. It's like the blackest of black. There's nothing. You know, the mind almost switches off when you get to that moment. It's almost just a complete tunnel visioned view. So it's very difficult for people to understand. One thing about getting through general moments that I want to speak about, because I've had a lot of people ask me recently as well off the back of all this about, you know, how do you get through it time and time and time again? It gets so tiring and, you know, you just feel like you're just weighed down time after time, and it's difficult. And even if you've dealt with this your whole life, each time that moment comes around, it hits you. And it hits you in the same way that it hits you the first time. That feeling doesn't get any better. It's not like the feeling itself gets less. And, you know, I've been there so many times where it's like, you know, oh my God, I'm here again. And why on earth was I thinking all those things before? None of that even makes sense. What was I going on about? Like, this is never going to end again. And I myself end up in that thought process every single time. It's like having a permanent argument with yourself. You tell yourself some stuff that makes you get through it, and then it happens again and you're like, what was I on about? It was a load of shit. But actually going through these times time and time and time again, it's wearing, it's tiring, it's awful, but actually going through it again and then again and again, I've found has given me a lot of power. It's given me a lot of resilience, and it's enabled me to deal with it each time it comes round better than the previous time. It hasn't made the feelings any less, and it hasn't made it any easier, but it's enabled me to be able to manage it better. And I think that's the difference. Each time you get through these moments, each time you get through feeling suicidal, each time you get through feeling like this is just going to go on and on and on and I'm never going to get out of this, and oh my God, like this is like the pinnacle point, this is worse than last time, I'm not going to get through this. Each time you do get through, each time it's like you prove to yourself, well, this is how it's been for me anyway, it's like you prove to yourself that actually, no, I can, because I did, and I thought this last time, and I still got through it. And actually I thought that the time before, and the time before, and the time before, and the time before. And I got through each one of those times. So actually now, even though in my mind I'm going, I can't get through this, this is awful, this, what was I thinking, like, this isn't any better than the last time, this is the same, it's worse, it's whatever it is, what the hell was I going on about? I still know that I got through it. And so I've still built up the resilience to know that I thought this last time. It's like Groundhog Day. I thought it last time, and the time before, and the time before, and that's wearing, and it's annoying, and it's frustrating. But it also gives, or has given me, power to know that I can get through it because I've done it so many times before. And therefore, I know that those feelings and that moment, it will pass. Yes, I'm arguing with myself now, saying, no, it won't, what are you going on about? But actually in the rational part of my brain, no matter how tiny that may be at that point in the back of my mind, I know that actually that's bullshit, because I did, and I have, and I'll do it again. So what I do then these days, in that period of time that I feel like that, is argue with myself a lot, tell myself that I was lying before, whilst the rational part of my brain is telling me, no, Katie, that's not true because you've done it before. So whilst going through all that, the practical steps that I take, and I think will differ from person to person, you have to find your own thing that basically gets you through. I'll go back to this quote of, we don't have to have a good day, we just have to have a day. And that can just be a day that we get through. And the next day can be like that, and the next, and the next, and the next, and the next. And however long it takes, the thing that I found really helpful was to not rush that. I'm a rusher. I constantly want to be on the go. I kind of live and thrive on being productive. So when that's taken away from me in those moments, I really struggle with that. So learning to do that was incredibly hard for me, and I still struggle with it. I'm really not perfect, but it has really, really helped me to know that to not rush it, to literally just let go, just to literally let it be as it is. I'm feeling this. I've felt it before and before and before, and I've got through it again and again and again. But actually at this point in time, I've just got to sit back, accept it for what it is. This is a depressive episode of part of my illness, which is personally that I have bipolar, and this wave will pass. I sometimes get to the point where I panic because I think, actually, this isn't going, and now I'm starting to feel suicidal. But I try to still just wait and wait for it to pass, because it does, and it will. And in that interim, you have to do whatever works for you. And that's different for everybody. For me, it's Netflix. Simple, but I believe that Netflix helps. It's something to zone into. It's something to just switch off with a blanket if you have to. Lie on the sofa. You know, don't get dressed if you don't want to. Whatever it is. But Netflix, for me, helps me zone. It helps me focus. I switch off. I zone into somebody else's world or something that I'm interested in. So that personally is a big win for me. And that helps me get through to just have a day and another, and however many that may be. And then I find that once I've got through those days, that very, very slowly, I start getting a little spark back where I feel like maybe I could actually move and do something today. And actually doing that is incredibly difficult. But I kind of know in my mind when I'm at that point now. So when I get to that point that I know is right for me, I then push myself very slightly to do something small. So I've got an Etsy shop, so I craft a lot. So for me, that is to either draw or to just start making something or designing something on my laptop. Not for long, just something. So if it take, if I get into it and I get going on it, that's great, because actually that really boosts me. So it's just building on it slowly, slowly, slowly over this period of time. And eventually, however long that may take, it starts to change. And that's how I deal with it. I'm not saying that that's going to be the case for everybody. Everybody's different. Obviously, my moods go in general waves of usually kind of 3 to 4 weeks at a time, with periods in between where I'm fine, or not fine, but I'm, you know, as fine can be. I'm okay. So I've kind of learnt to deal with that in my own way. It's not the same for everybody, but I'm just kind of giving my own little things that have worked for me, really. But it's really important not to rush yourself and not, I can't feel like this, I can't feel like this, I can't just sit here and do nothing, I can't just, you know, I need to, or do X, Y and Z, I need to. And like I say, I still struggle with this. I do still overstep my own boundaries a lot and do things that I shouldn't do, and that I've learnt that actually sets me back. So then I go back to the point of, right, I'm just going to sit and watch Netflix because that's my thing. So I think it's all about finding your thing. It's about finding what works for you and not putting pressure on yourself and shoulding. I should do this. I should be this. I should say this. It's about building your own self-awareness around your own illness, I think, and building a strategy of things that work for you. And believe me, that's taken me a very long time, and it still doesn't always work, and that's okay, you know, because these things are never perfect. But I do believe that when you find some things that work for you, it's a huge help, and when you learn what works for you and what doesn't work for you. But I believe that not pushing yourself is a really big thing. And then I've spoke a lot recently as well about in the moment of feeling suicidal because of what I've been doing regarding the bridge. This is obviously a more difficult area, and you know, it's not something that I can just say is this, you know, this works for everybody, because it's not the case. But I believe, from feeling suicidal myself and having planned to take my own life and being in that moment, hence why I'm campaigning over my bridge notes, is that I'm a firm believer in the smallest thing makes the massive difference. I believe, from my experiences, that when somebody is feeling suicidal, they go into a very tunnel vision view, especially if they've planned and they're actually now starting to implement that plan. I think that the whole world disappears. Everything else has gone. And so it takes one thing to break into somebody's mindset. And that could be the smallest of things, which is why I'm so passionate about these notes on bridges, because people might look at these notes on bridges that are being done and think, how is a note on a bridge going to help? And the reason that I believe those notes on the bridge would help some people is that because suicide lives in silence, it's not spoken about. So some people might not have even told anybody. So they might not have had any feedback or been able to talk to anybody about it. And I believe that if somebody is in that tunnel vision view, having spoken to nobody, and they went to a bridge and saw one of these notes that is from the heart of somebody that's felt suicidal to another person that's feeling suicidal, that has the potential, not definite, but it has the potential to break into, just for that moment, which is what it's about, that person's thought process. And it's about breaking that moment just slightly, just to make somebody divert. And in that moment of diversion, it could just cause somebody to reach out. So I do believe that about suicide intervention and suicide awareness and things that are being done to prevent suicide. I feel very strongly about the fact that it's about creating, it's about creating things that will essentially create a moment for somebody to reach out in an instant, that will just click into somebody's tunnel visioned thought process in that moment. It's literally about the moment, I believe. That wouldn't be the case for anybody. I know that. I'm not completely naive. But I do believe that the smallest things that can literally divert someone's thinking in the moment of suicide is extremely important. And I think that's something that we all need to work on, and that needs to be spoken about more. So that's my little rambled video on you know, what I think about getting through moments and getting through dark times. Everybody's different, everybody copes in their own way. I think that's also important to realise. Not everybody is the same. You can't say to one person, you know, doing this, you know, that's going to make you feel better, because that's not the case. Everybody's totally different. And it's just a case of basically building your own building blocks and learning what works for us as individuals. So yeah, that's just kind of my little thoughts on that. I don't know whether it will have helped anybody, but if it has, that's a bonus.